This is the pizza test you've been waiting for. I am going to try all the most common types of flour on the market to make pizza. The challenge is to make the same pizza with the same recipe in the same oven, but only one ingredient is changed: the flour. I am going to knead each dough one by one and see how the gluten network develops. I will cool ferment them for 2 days and then bake the same margarita-style pizza. Yes, it's my favorite, with the same amount of ingredients, gram by gram. And then I am going to bake them in a wood-fired pizza oven at the same temperature. I am also going to analyze each pizza in detail and finally rate them with the gluten scale. And what's that? I don't know, I just made it up, but we'll figure it out together. And then we'll see which flour is the best for pizza. So if you like, let's get started and may the gluten be with us. So first, let's check the formula, which is in Baker's percentage. Remember that you can download my app for free for Android and iPhone. So now the hydration is at 80%. That means that in a kilo of flour, they are 800 grams of water. It is not usual for Neapolitan style pizza, but since we're doing it gluten Morgan style, the idea is that we get a very light and airy pizza. We will be making the dough with obviously flour, water, fresh or dry yeast, and a little salt. So now it's time to prepare the mixer. Today I am not going to knead it by hand. I am going to use the paddle, which is great for high hydration doughs. Then let's get started with the flour, salt, yeast, and water. Now we wait a few moments and... when will I get the 1 million subscribers plate? Alright, we keep kneading. This is not a matter of time. We're looking for the gluten network development. So when you see this is happening, the dough is ready. Now we lower it to the counter and it's time to shape it. I am going to use these individual containers with a drop of oil and we place a ball inside. Now we cover it so it doesn't dry out. And with the help of an elastic band, we will mark the point where it began. What we're looking to do is that the dough doubles in size. We can do it perfectly at room temperature, but I recommend doing a long and cold fermentation. Yes, I know, it's going to take a little bit longer. Well, let's say a few hours. 1 day. No, actually 2 days. Yes, 48 hours. Okay, at the end, we will have all the doughs ready to make these amazing pizzas in the wood oven, which is already preheated. Let's begin with the first flour, which is Neapolitan flour, which would be ideal for making pizza. But first, let's do the autolyze test. We're going to add 100 grams of flour and 80 grams of water. Helping ourselves with a spoon, we need to integrate all the ingredients together. We're not going to knead. And leave it there on the counter for around 2 hours. Now with a wet hand, let's start stretching the dough. What we have to achieve is that the dough stretches as much as possible. And the truth is that this Neapolitan flour is doing it very well. So I'm going to give it a 10 on the gluten scale. Time to start with the pizza. We unmold it on the top of the semolina. Flip it, give it another turn, and lower it to the counter to begin stretching it with our hands. I like how easy it is to stretch. I'm liking this. It was really easy. So it's a 10. Oh. The ingredients are: we are going to use crushed tomatoes, buffalo milk mozzarella, a little smoked provolone grated by hand, some fresh basil leaves, extra virgin olive oil, and Patagonia sea salt. Alright, let's go with the tomato. Now some basil leaves that we tore apart by hand to release more perfume. Touch of salt, mozzarella cheese, not too much, smoked provola, olive oil. And we're ready to go to the oven. We load the first pizza on the pizza peel, very carefully. Now we place it in the oven and instantly begins to form the crust. A couple of turns and here it is. I'm going to give it a 10. It looks like a Neapolitan pizza. Let's go with a 9. Now I want to hear that cornicione. I give it a 9. It's toasted a little too much, so I'm going to give it a 7. And now with the scissors. Yes, scissors, so as not to break the cornicione. Let's see how airy it is. Oh, whoa. That is pure air. I think we can all agree to give it a 10, right? This slice looks quite firm. Let's go with a 9. Okay, now, as usual, the best part. È molto buona. Now we continue with Italian 00 flour, a flour that was, perhaps, designed to make focaccia. We will repeat the autolyte test again by placing 100 grams of flour and 80 grams of water. Mix, do not knead, cover and leave it on the counter for 2 hours. Alright, time to start stretching and see how much membrane resists. And the truth is that it resists quite well. It got 9 points on the gluten scale. Now we do the same as before. We dust it with some semolina and begin to stretch it on the counter. A bit of steering wheel technique, adjust it, and it's done. So I give it a 9. We continue with the tomato, salt, basil leaves, mozzarella, provolone cheese, and olive oil. Ready to go to the oven. We place it on the pizza peel and go. Immediately the cornicione begins to grow. It took a few more seconds, but we're going to give it a 10. Ooh! I realize that it has a slightly lower roast. Let's go with an 8. Not bad. I give it an 8. But beware of the base. I give it a 10. Time to cut that cornicione and see how airy it is. But the truth is that it looks very good. Let's give it a 9. And beware, look how it hangs. It deserves another 9. Okay, time to taste it. I love my job. Are you lost with all the sourdough bread recipes that you find on the internet? Would you like to learn all the tips and tricks to make your own sourdough bread at home? Then I have the solution. I have designed the perfect masterclass of sourdough bread just made for you. By clicking the link on the description, you will learn how to make and take care of your sourdough starter, how to knead, shape, ferment and bake your sourdough bread, how to use and read the baker's percentage, all the basic techniques to bake like a pro at home, and how to read and understand your dough. Don't miss out on it and click the link on the description right now. Now it's the turn of Manitoba Flour, the classic Italian high gluten flour. Let's check that membrane. Although it looks translucent, it didn't allow for a good stretch, so let's go with an 8 and work it on both sides. We'll lower it to the counter and stretch it one more time with the steering wheel technique. It would be a little bit harder, so I'll give it a 9. And we are ready to put it in place. And there it is already in the oven. A couple of turns and it got stuck a little. Well, there you see what happened. What do you think if we give it an 8? And according to the Italians, it doesn't need to be really round, but I give it a 7. The base is correct, another 8 as well. Oh, crunches very well. Let's go with an 8. And now let's see that cornicione. It looks very airy. I'll give it a 9. It also looks pretty firm, gets another 8 more. And again, the best part. The tomato's really good. Next up is the bread flour. Was designed for making bread. Checking the gluten network. It feels more tense, but at the same time the membrane is quite translucent. It gets a 7. We stretch it on the counter with our fingers. It really responds better than I thought, so we can give it a 7. The pizza is ready. Last touch of olive oil and let's place it on the peel. Time to go into the oven. We give it a couple of turns and there it is. Let's see if you think the same as me. An 8. It looks pretty good, so we give it a 9. Let's hear how this pizza crunches. Let's go with an 8. But I think we can give it a 10. Once again we go with the scissors and cut that pizza crust. I thought it was going to be a little bit more airy. We give it a 7, okay? Let's see how firm it is. We give it an 8. I'm sorry, but I have to do it again. All-purpose flour, not the one that you always use to make pizza. And let's see how the autolyse goes. That is a really good membrane. Let's go with an 8. Now it's time to stretch it on the counter, and I'm liking a lot what I'm feeling. It deserves a 9 on the gluten scale. Well, the pizza is ready. Time to place it on the pizza peel, and let's go straight to the oven. We turn it a little bit, and it already begins to take on a very good color. That it deserves a 10, doesn't it? Ooh. Looks amazing. It deserves another 10. Now I want to hear how it creaks. 9. The base, I'll give it an 8. Now let's cut the pizza crust and see how it is. this is another 10. I'll give it a 9. And of course I have to taste this one too. And finally, we've come to the cake flour that I would never have thought of using for pizza. But since this is a test, well, it didn't work. I have no choice but to give it a -2. So what we're going to do, and totally out of the plan, is to correct the formula and lower the hydration down to 70%. In the end, and what I always recommend doing, is trying to find the limit of a flour and not trying to force an impossible hydration. We achieved a pretty good membrane, so now I'm going to give it an 8, but since it was -2, we left it with a 6. I like how it stretches. The truth is that I had no faith in it. The world of flour is full of surprises. It at least deserves a 7.
Stop it. Get some help.
Well, let's put that pizza together and let's find the peel. Let's go to the oven. I am really liking what I'm seeing. I don't understand anything anymore. I'm going to give it a 9. It's looking pretty good. Let's give it an 8. Oh, no. Listen how it creaks. This is a 9. The base is not that bad. A 7. And now we need to see that cornichon. And another surprise. Let's give it a 9. We can all agree it did it very well. Let's give it an 8. I have to do it again. Oh. Okay, now that all the pizzas are baked, and do a little review one by one. First was the pizza with the Neapolitan flour, and I was sure that this one could not fail us, because that flour was invented to do that. We continue with the Italian 00 flour, that really defended itself very well also in the oven. It was followed by Manitoba, and maybe took a little bit more to stretch it, and the final shape, I wasn't entirely convinced. Then we used the bread flour, a flour designed to make bread. But hey, it also made some good pizzas. And one of the ones that surprised me a lot is this all-purpose flour. Look at the pizza that we took out of the oven. How beautiful it is. And finally, the cake flour pizza. We had to tweak the recipe a bit, but the pizza came out amazing. And here we have the table with all the final scores. Well, as expected, the winning flour had to be the Neapolitan. Let's keep in mind that it was born for that. But I also want to highlight that using other type of flours that weren't designed to make pizzas, we can achieve incredible pizzas as well. So I hope you found this experiment helpful, and see you in the next video. May the gluten be with you. I hope you have enjoyed this video. And if you want to learn more about sourdough bread and sourdough starter, I encourage you to check the link on the description. And remember, this masterclass was specially designed for you.